Hey everybody, today I am in Brooklyn to check out the Museum of Failure. Now this is a museum dedicated to failed products, failed inventions, things that just didn't take off for whatever reason. Looks really cool and interesting. We're gonna go check it out today. Come with me. So this neat looking little car here is known as a Trabont, and it was made in communist occupied East Germany. And it was known for just being very bare bones. It does not have seat belts, does not have turn signals, didn't even have a fuel pump. The fuel would just have to be positioned above the engine and just kind of flow using gravity. And it was just known as one of the worst cars ever built. Here we have the Segway, a device that was poised to revolutionize travel forever. I actually still see these occasionally, usually like crossing guards, security guards, sometimes using these things. So this is a plastic bicycle created in the 80s, and it seems like it was a good idea. Problem with it is that it was incredibly flimsy and it would fall apart when you tried to use it. But it's pretty interesting to see. So this is the Honda Pacific Coast. And this was a motorcycle marketed towards non-motorcycle enthusiasts, more of the everyday driver, and it was kind of a plastic motorcycle, and it had a lot of extra space for storing stuff, so this was a failure. But I do think it looks pretty neat. I kind of like it, actually. It's kind of futuristic, kind of reminds me of, you know, the motorcycle from the anime Akira. I kind of like it. So this is known as the mono ski. So this is not a snowboard. This is actually one large ski that you would attach both feet to. Here we have a scale model of the Titanic. I don't really need to tell you why that was a failure. Here we can see the Spruce Goose, one of the largest planes ever created. And I guess it was just too large and inefficient to enter mass production. So these are known as the Adidas Spring Blades, which had these unique looking soles right here. I don't know, I think these are kind of cool, but apparently they didn't actually work very well. And down here, we have a car which has kind of become famous for its role in Back to the Future, the DeLorean. Really cool looking car, but a commercial failure. Here we have a Nintendo Virtual Boy. I remember this very well. I remember playing a demo of this in the store when it first released, and it looked terrible, the games were terrible, it was hard to play, it was just an all-around unpleasant experience. So, Virtual Boy, big failure on Nintendo's part. Okay, so here we have a Lego Technic set, which actually uses fiber optic in it. And that was a failure because it was actually more expensive to make it than what they were selling it for. That's kind of cool right there. Oh, and check it out. We have a Nintendo Power Glove. It's so bad. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? But this was actually a pretty cool thing. It didn't really work all that well, but it certainly looked cool. So this is something known as the Valky. And what this did was it took sunlight and turned it into energy for the wearer. I guess it was supposed to relieve jet lag, fatigue, combat depression. Problem with this is that it was all a lie, and it didn't actually do any of those things. And here's something I remember hearing about a lot, and it never took off. This is Google Glass, which I guess was, you know, just kind of invasive for the wearer and all the people around it, you know. You don't really want somebody looking at you with a Google Glass and searching your information or something like that. So this is something interesting. This was a electronic pay card known as Coin, and I guess it was sort of like a precursor, but it's like nowadays everything just kind of goes through the cell phone. We don't really need an additional device for something like that. So these were DivX movies. And I remember when these came out, you had like 48 hours to watch the disc before it expired. So you had to get the disc, but then you only had a limited amount of time to watch it. Really inefficient and really hard to use, so I can see why this failed, and I'm kind of glad it did. So over here we can see some failed beverages. We have Coca-Cola Black, which was Coke with coffee in it, and I remember when that came out, I tried it, it was interesting. It wasn't bad, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't quite hit the spot. Now we have Crystal Pepsi, which I remember that from when I was a kid, and it was basically just Pepsi without the dye in it, so it was just a clear version of Pepsi. We had New Coke, which was a colossal failure, an attempt to kind of rebrand Coke, make a new version of Coke, which nobody liked. And then this is something really amazing. This is flavored water for your pets. You can have fish flavored water for your cat and beef for your dog. I don't know, my dog would drink water out of a dirty puddle if you let him. And this is a cold brew Keurig. Now I don't ever remember seeing those. That seems like something that might have actually been a decent idea. And over here we have Four Loko, creator of Many a Bad Night. So at one point, Colgate tried to have their own brand of TV dinners, and they weren't actually bad. It just, people associate Colgate with toothpaste, so they didn't really take off. And we have the Arch Deluxe, which was marketed as a burger for adults, not for kids. Very strange marketing campaign, kind of made it seem kind of like an elitist burger, and it didn't really go well. Here we have Heinz Easy Squirt, which was colored ketchup. I remember they had purple and green and blue and all kinds of strange colored ketchup, and it tasted exactly like Heinz ketchup, but it had sort of like a grainy texture to it. We actually had this at my house pretty often when I was a kid. Pretty cool stuff. I actually liked it. So here's one I remember very well. This is Orbit's drink, which was a drink that had sort of these like little floating edible beads in it. And I remember it looked so cool in the store. And when I finally tried it, it was disgusting. It was syrupy. You had these balls which just had just a horrible texture. It didn't even taste good. So that's one thing that looked a lot cooler than it actually was, and I can see why it failed, because it was pretty horrible. It's really amazing just to be seeing a bottle of this stuff so many years later. Just, you know, one of those things we kind of all forgot existed. We can see down here in the bottom, it looks like all the little beads have sunk to the bottom. Orbits, you were a colossal failure, but we admire you for trying. So here we can see a wall of different flavored Oreos. And I have to say, would you really consider these a failure? I feel like a lot of these are actually pretty good, or at least a good idea. I don't know, I see these in stores pretty often, and most of the time I like them when I try them. There's usually something good, and they kind of keep them on the rotation. So I appreciate them for trying new things. Here's one I know probably most of us remember. Blockbuster Video. Relic of the past nowadays, video rental services. Here we can see some dangerous children's toys. We have lawn darts, which are a lethal weapon. I don't know what they were thinking with these things. They don't even look like they're fun, they just look dangerous. And here we have Cabbage Patch Kids Snack Time, which was a Cabbage Patch doll that actually had a moving jaw, and the problem with this is it would chew on kids' fingers and they would get injured. So this was known as the Twitter Peak, which was a device exclusively for using Twitter, which was kind of a bad idea considering it came out in 2009 when everybody already had smartphones that could use Twitter. And so these were sunglasses that would have a camera in them, and they would record Snapchat videos for the user. I didn't think Snapchat was that popular that you needed special glasses for it. So this is a doll known as Princess Kayla, and it would actually connect to the internet and use speech recognition to interact with the children who would play with it. And it just, right here it says, "I know so much about you." So I guess it looked up personal information for the people who had the doll, and that just seems really creepy right there. Here we have the Amstrad Emailer, which was a phone email device all in one. Again, something that just kind of was supplanted by computers and smartphones. Here we have the ESPN Phone, which is a phone specifically for ESPN information, which was just more expensive than it really needed to be for something you don't really need. So this terrifying device right here is known as the Rejuvenique, which I guess would send electrical pulses through your skin and sort of rejuvenate your skin, make you look nicer. And just look at this terrifying device right here. This is what would connect to your skin. Can you imagine that? So they said it felt like 1,000 ants are biting my face, and it was never tested or safety approved. So this thing was basically sending shocks all through your face. Could you imagine that? So this creepy little doll here is known as Little Miss No Name, and it was a doll who is a homeless child, and it was meant to bring awareness to the homeless problem and sort of bring sympathy and help for them, but didn't take off because it's creepy and depressing. And these are known as phone fingers, which are special gloves for your fingertips while you use your cell phone. Here we have Harley Davidson cologne and Bic pens for her, because as we all know, women need their own special pens. They can't just use a regular pen. So here we can see a satellite phone, which was in the late 90s before cell phones became regularly used, and it was just a really heavy thing you had to carry around to even use it. So this is a more recent one that I remember hearing a lot about when it was going on. This is the Juicero, which was a fancy high-end juice machine, and all you really did was get a packet of juice puree and you'd put it in this device and it would just kind of squeeze out the juice. There was really no need for this product at all when you could just buy the packet of juice and just open it up yourself and squeeze it into a cup. So this is the Polaroid Polavision, which was an early attempt at a video camera by the Polaroid company. Problem was it could only record 2.5 minutes of video and the quality was just very poor. So this is called the Sound Burger, and this was an attempt at creating a portable record player, but it didn't really work that well and you kind of had to put it down on a flat surface to use it. So it was basically just a regular record player. Here we can see the Zune. I remember the Zune. It was kind of an alternative to the iPod, and I remember hearing that it was actually a pretty decent product, but it just couldn't knock the iPod out of the top spot. And here's the Petty Perfect, which I still see these in stores, if I'm being honest. Basically, it was a cheese grater for your foot calluses. And here we can see a 3D television. Remember that? I remember when that was happening. I don't think anybody bought one of these. Here we have the Oakley Thump, which were sunglasses with headphones integrated in them. And I remember seeing people wearing these around. I knew people who had these. So this is called a Jibo, which was sort of like kind of like a precursor to the Alexa, sort of like a helpful automated home robot. Problem with it was $900 and people just didn't want to buy that. So here we can see an advertisement for the video streaming service Quibi. Remember Quibi? You probably don't. It was an attempt at something kind of like 10-minute videos that you could only watch on your phone. It bombed so bad. So this is the Apple Pippin, which was a failed gaming console created by Apple. And here we have the Facebook Portal, which was basically just a tablet specifically for Facebook. So I remember seeing commercials for these things. These were known as the Amazon Dash buttons, and they were just little buttons you could put around your house, and you just push them and it would automatically send an Amazon order in for the item you're running out of. Seems kind of an odd thing, I don't know. So these little plastic cats right here were known as the Q Cat, and it was something where you could scan a barcode with it and it would take you to a website, take you to the product's website or whatever, and this just didn't take off. Just a really weird idea during the early internet days, but it's interesting to see things like that. So here we can see some failed video games, and I have to admit I bought Cyberpunk when it came out and it was awful. It's just a bad game. And down here we have E.T. for Atari, which was another just abysmal game, and I believe they took just all the copies of this game and ended up burying them out in Mexico somewhere. Here we can see actual gameplay footage of E.T. for Atari. Very riveting stuff right here. Here we have the HD DVD, which was kind of in a format war with Blu-ray, and this one lost. This is an HD DVD player. Here we have the Sony mini disc, and I remember these. Some people had these back when I was in high school, but not too many people. And here we have the laser disc, which was basically a vinyl LP sized CD, which didn't take off just because of its size and inefficiency. So this is known as the Coolest Cooler, which is sort of an all-in-one portable cooler, which has electronic devices, Bluetooth speakers, all kinds of cool stuff. And there was a Kickstarter for it. Problem was, they didn't actually give the people the products who contributed to the Kickstarter. But it actually looks pretty cool and doesn't seem like too bad of an idea. So this is something I've never heard of. This is called the RCA Select Division, and this actually played video from vinyl discs, almost like a record, but it took a long time to make to market, and by the time it did, it was already obsolete. And here we have an example of one of the video discs that would have been used for it. That's very interesting. I've never actually heard of something like that, video from a vinyl record. And here we have another failed video format, the Betamax. And just look at the size of this player. That is just massive. So this is Persil, the accelerator, which was a type of detergent, and the problem with it was actually too strong and it would cause your clothes to disintegrate. Here we have Pets.com, sort of an emblem of the .com bubble. I guess they were just losing money and that their whole business model was just really inefficient. But I remember seeing commercials with this little mascot on it all the time. Here we can see Elizabeth Holmes and her company Theranos, who came up with a new way to test blood that would revolutionize the industry. The problem was, it was all a blatant lie. She actually did not do that. So this is the Apple Newton, which was a Palm Pilot device where you could write on it and it would turn it into text, but didn't work very well. And over here we have the Nokia N-Gage, which was a cell phone gaming system combination, which was a good idea, but it just didn't really work out all that well. So this is the Fisher-Price video camera, which actually recorded video on standard cassette tapes, and it was black and white, very poor quality, so it never took off. And this is Febreze Scent Stories, which would play music and release a certain scent and kind of create an atmosphere for you. Interesting idea, but I guess it just never took off like everything else here. Here we have the Amazon Fire Phone, which was Amazon's attempt to create their own smartphone line. So this is known as the hula chair, and I guess it was supposed to give you an ab workout while you were just sitting down, not actually working out. I feel like this actually wouldn't really do all that much. So that was a lot of fun. That was really cool, seeing all of those horrible products that just didn't take off, just failed miserably. And I remember just seeing so many of them being advertised, being hailed as like the next big thing. Just, you know, coming up in a time when there's just so many innovations in technology and just different things people tried to see if they took off, and they did not. So it was really cool to come and see and check them out. This was Museum of Failure in Brooklyn. This is a traveling exhibit. So check to see if maybe they're coming near you sometime soon. I know this particular exhibit's not going to be here much longer. I think it's going to be gone in, you know, mid-May. So if you're near Northeast Brooklyn area, you might want to get here soon. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video.